You probably know that we have a couple of prayer groups that are meeting once a week. And the one that I'm in, we're learning how to be more powerful as we pray. I don't know about the other one. They may already be way up there. But it's proving to me to be a wonderful opportunity to become aware of what are we actually doing when we pray affirmatively. Now, what is this all about anyway? And one of the things that is very clear to all of us is that when we express what we're hoping, what we're envisioning, what we want to pray for, it's a whole lot easier to phrase it as a problem. Have you ever noticed that? Oh, I want this to end. And whatever the problem is. And sometimes the problem is like hydra-headed monster, right? And then there's this, and then there's this, and then there's this, and then there's this, and then there's this. Okay, let's see how we can phrase that as a single positive vision. Anybody else ever had problems trying to do this? Like, how am I going to make this positive? Oh, good, okay. We got hands. So we're encountering that, right? It's like, okay, here we are. And we want to find a positive way that all of us can focus on a positive outcome, on what the person really wants. So there's been some questioning and answering and discussing, and a couple of weeks ago we had one that was a hydra-headed monster. It was like everybody in the person's family was having problems. And the person was going bananas, and she wanted all the problems to go away. Well, that's understandable. How do you formulate that in a prayer? So we asked questions and we made attempts. It was a very interesting experiment. And somebody finally said, "Why do we have to always be so serious when we pray?" I thought, wow, that's an interesting thought. Why do we have to be so serious when we're praying? Why can't it be fun? Why can't it be silly? It wasn't a good answer other than it doesn't. We can be playful. And I'm realizing more and more, we have to be willing to play, to get outside of everyday reality, the box of what we have in the bank and how many hours of work we have and how many hours we have in the day and how much energy we have or don't have, and everything that's on our to-do list. You all have stuff like that? We have to be able to throw it all up in the air in order to pray, to use prayer powerfully, to use prayer as the key that it is to unlock the life that we really want, even though we're not thinking about that, we're thinking about all the things we don't want. That's what prayer is. It's the key to what can we vision? What can we accept? What can we say, oh, sure, I want that, and I know it can happen. Because whatever we can't imagine, we can't ask for. And what we ask for, what I ask for, this is something I've been working on, is realizing, okay, that's nice. Is that all that's possible? Is that what I really thoroughly enjoy? What would make things better for a ton of people? Well, usually not. Why? Because, well, I'm thinking about how much money do I have, and how much energy do I have, and how many people do I know, and what do I know, and, there's any number of obstacles, limitations, boxes, walls, lids. Right? And then my prayer is all boxed up in that, because that's what I'm imagining. So, I'm going to suggest today that the prayer groups and World Day of Peace, likewise, and any opportunity that we have to pray, is an invitation, an open invitation from the universe to fire up our powers. And there's several that we can fire up here and put all into the hopper together to get to the biggest place we can get to. And that's worth doing, because the bigger our hearts can become, the bigger we can spread out our imagination and our vision. What happens when you ask for something in the divine realm? When you ask, even when you ask your neighbor, what happens?
It's done.
Very, very often, what you ask for happens. Right. It's given to you. Right? I mean, we just had an experience yesterday where I just had the experience. I spent 3 hours trying to get online. And I was so frustrated because I wanted to communicate my computer to communicate with my printer, to print out today's talk. I don't know why, it's like a security blanket. When I go back and look at it, I can never find what it is that I want to find anyway, but as you have witnessed. And I eventually came to the point where I saw something that flashed across the screen that was about, I still don't believe this. Google uses the message, wrong password, if it perceives that you have a different mail server or email account on your computer. That doesn't make any sense, but that's what I'd been encountering. And I'd created 20 different passwords that were not accepted. And that thing flashed across the screen. I thought, oh. And what other email account do I have on my computer? Unity Center of Peace. And so I wrote to Chris, help! I hate doing that, but I was just... And you know what? I went back on the computer after I sent that, and suddenly my account came back. I asked for help. Bingo, I have no idea why it came back. I didn't ask questions. I just said, oh, thank you. Wrote to Chris so he could be feel off the hook. And actually, somehow, through some arcane arrangement, was able to communicate with one printer for the length of one talk. The printer conked out after that. And I actually have a piece of paper. But when you ask, that's the first thing that's required. We gotta ask. We gotta be willing to take help. So I asked Spirit, named Chris. Spirits named all of us. And I'm just imagining, if I had done that after 2 passwords that were turned down, I would have had a whole afternoon that I didn't have. Anyway, coming back to the prayer group. Somebody in the prayer group said, okay, let's have fun. I'm going to envision this person's whole family riding around on a psychedelic painted bus, driven by a unicorn. I kid you not. And everybody's hanging out the windows and having a blast. And it's all good. Oh my God. This, monstrous prayer intention that we couldn't get our minds or our memories around. All of a sudden it was like, hey, I want to be on that bus. That's now become one of my major prayer images. I want on the bus. And does it have anything to do with any kind of reality? No. You might say we were being silly. Yeah. But it gave us all a prayer intention that for the rest of the week we could hold on the same page. The buses are probably painted differently, but it doesn't make that much difference. And what's beginning to happen is that the feeling of the bus is percolating into that person's awareness. And that's what needed to happen. It really was a prayer intention that I can feel okay. Even though all these people in my family are having all these things happen to them, I don't have to feel that I got to fix it all. But that image, that playfulness, what a blessing. And what an expansion of how it would have been if we hadn't been silly. That's what make-believe is all about. When was the last time you played make-believe?
Yesterday.
Way to go!
I admit.
When was the last time you were in a pickle? You were having a hard time and you played make-believe. And got out of all the things you know in this physical world that you need to get 12, 15 hours work done today and you only have 3 hours left before you're going to collapse. What can you do? Make-believe wise. Somebody dream up a silly image that you can get onto and go with.
Streaking in the sprinkler.
What?
Streaking in the sprinkler.
Streaking in the sprinkler.
In the front yard.
In the front yard. Is there any more to that? Maybe I don't want to know.
I like on a merry-go-round with music and singing.
Picture yourself on a merry-go-round.
Yeah, that's fun.
That works.
Busy, but for me it's fun.
That works. That's very energizing. And as you go around the merry-go-round, you know that it's all going to get done somehow. And you just do what you are meant to do. Things happen. Like that silly incident yesterday with my computer. Things happen. And you don't have to know how they're going to happen. And if you really need help, you better let go of how you think they might happen and just imagine that it's okay. What that does is it allows the picture to be as big as it wants to be. And it allows your experience of abundance to take off and be way more wonderful powerful than anything you would have thought of on your own. This is a very important part of prayer. On World Day of Prayer, we're going to be holding the intention of people, all kinds of people, way more people than usually do, certainly way more people than did the last midterm election, are just going to want to cast a ballot to bring up the percentage of the population that's voting in a midterm election. Last year, the average was somewhere around 32% of eligible voters. Last midterm election. That's not democracy. You know, who's choosing who runs whatever governments were voted on at that point? Tiny minority. That's not representation. And our system doesn't work. Unless, as it's designed to, it represents a bunch of people. That's all we're going to envision. We're not thinking about parties, we're not thinking about politicians, we're just thinking about people understanding and wanting to and feeling good about taking the time that day, or before if they can, to cast a ballot. So that more than 50% of voters in North Carolina actually vote on this midterm election. So since I've been holding that intention, it's very interesting. I'm seeing, receiving invitations to help that to happen. And they're actually specific invitations that I can see myself participating in. I mean, the idea of going door to door, that I'm not going to do that, I'm sorry. That's just not, as I love the expression, in my wheelhouse. But there are things that I can do comfortably that are on this list. And since I am now invested in that vision, it feels good to say, yeah, I'll do that. Would I ever do that otherwise? But the more people who work for people to get out and vote, the more people are going to get out and vote. I mean, we're asking. So what we get when we put forth an idea, sometimes we just get the blessing, you know, whole, unexpectedly. There it is. Take it. Sometimes we get ideas of, well, okay, here's what you can do. And if you want any desire to be more than a wish, it's important to take whatever action is required to set it in motion. You're not responsible for making the whole thing come about. You're just responsible for facilitating it, taking the advice of whatever ideas come, and putting some energy into whatever you're looking for. So what we need to do in prayer, and what the Power of 8 groups and the World Day of Prayer and other prayer opportunities that are available to us here, like praying with a prayer partner on Sunday, calling up Silent Unity and asking for prayer, you'll notice that everybody who you pray with, the first thing they do is they don't do it silly, although they could. They could have fun. They could pretend it's recess. Really. But they get you out, get your thoughts out of the box of today. That's the first thing, is to shift the container of your thinking at this moment, so that you're available, you're open, you're willing, you're ready. And then you can think of an idea like wholeness and peace and perfection, a divine idea, which is right here, within all of us. But we can only experience them when we're willing to let go all the other stuff and just be in them. So if you want the opportunity to practice, there's a sign-up sheet down there for a third Power of 8 prayer group. Join up. It takes an hour each week. It is so peaceful and supportive and feels so good that it's well worth. It gets you out of that garbage heap of stuff that you're sinking under and gets you into wholeness, perfection. So I'm going to finish by citing a passage from Unity teacher Eric Butterworth. And I'm going to put this as my first blog entry on our new website. So I want everybody to start getting used to going to the website to find new stuff. This is going to be there.
Do they know there's a new website?
Did you know there's a new website?
How many people know there's a new website?
Oh, good. Okay. Go check it out. It's the same URL. It's the same name. You don't have to know anything different. Just go. And there will appear magically through our imagination blogs, opportunities for people to share thoughts. And my first blog entry is going to be this passage. So it will come back to be available to you soon, I hope. Okay. And this is the book that I keep picking things out of because we've never had it before. It's new stuff, or at least it's stuff that has recently been published from the archive at Unity. He describes, he says, we need to envision spirit not as out there somewhere and not just in ourselves, but we need to think of spirit as an endless circle with no circumference.
Yeah.
An endless circle with no circumference and a center of light right inside you. You, everybody is the center of light in the endless circle that is spirit. That is allness of power and love and light. That one takes a bit of processing to even begin to be able to imagine. But it's an awesome image. It's an awesome thought. I am the point of light at the center of the infinite circle of divinity, of the universe.
Oneness, doesn't it?
What?
What a beautiful visual of oneness.
Exactly.
Why don't we say it together?
Okay. See if I can remember it. I am the point of light.
I am the point of light
At the center of the infinite circle
at the center of the infinite circle
of allness.
of allness. Yes.
That's where we need to be when we envision what are we praying for. In that place, in that point of light that we are in the infinite circle. And I will publish this too on the blog. He gives a little meditation, which I think I would like to do. He says, just think of yourself for a moment as being the central point of focus of light. You are a point of light in the infinite light of spirit. You are an expression of love in the infinite love of the infinite. You are an experience of wholeness and health in the activity of healing life. You are a flow of substance within the all-sufficiency of infinite supply, and this flowing pours through you as you, and it feels wonderful. Don't let yourself wonder how. Don't question where your spirit came from. Let all of these human thoughts go. Just feel your oneness with the allness of the infinite. Remember, wherever you are, the allness of spirit is present, and the allness of spirit is present because you are present.
Yeah.
And so it is.